Oklahoma is in the top 20 after a down season, their first year in the SEC. They're number 18.
A little surprised.
That's Oklahoma alum.
I'll take it.
Guerra. Could be a make-or-break year for Brent Venables. And the transfer quarterback, John Mateer, who has been in headlines the last 24 hours because screenshots surfaced that are allegedly from his Venmo account with 2 memos, including the word sports gambling. The alleged transactions were sent to a teammate back in 2022 when he was a freshman at Washington State. Now,
but then the games are like in the parentheses.
Yeah, he did put UCLA USC on there, so that is a college game, which would be more of a punishment than if he gambled on a professional game. But he has released a statement saying the allegations that I once participated in sports gambling are false. My previous Venmo descriptions did not accurately portray the transactions in question, but were instead inside jokes between me and my friends. I have never bet on sports. I can assure my teammates, coaches, and officials at the NCAA that I have not engaged in any sports gambling. But, of course, they are investigating. Shahan Jayaraja joins us now here on HQ. Shahan, one of our college football insiders. So I first want to ask you what kind of reporting you have on this, and then what kind of potential punishments could he face?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because a situation like this is so odd because ultimately there isn't actually a smoking gun. There isn't actually hard evidence that he's done anything wrong. As people may know, like Venmo accounts are notoriously unhelpful for revealing what's actually going on them. It's actually kind of odd, frankly, that Venmo accounts have these public feeds that are accessible to anybody, but it's very common for people to put inside jokes or sexual innuendos or any sort of thing on that subject line. And so here's the issue. For it to be enforced in any sort of way, there has to be hard evidence that this has happened, that there has been gambling involved. So ultimately, Oklahoma will be the first line of defense against this. Their compliance office will and has looked into this, but they're the ones who usually would elevate this to the NCAA level if they found any wrongdoing. At this point, Oklahoma has said we don't find any wrongdoing, and we don't have any reason to believe that the NCAA is going to look into this any further. So I think that ultimately this won't amount to anything, but it's certainly a distraction that Oklahoma did not need heading into a really important season.
Amanda breathing a sigh of relief there, as Shahan says. Ultimately, it's unlikely that this results in anything. There's a new article that's trending right now from The Athletic that basically says Texas is becoming the new Alabama. It's from Ralph Russo. There's an excerpt from it.
What?
Yep. In short, Texas is becoming the new Alabama.
They haven't done anything yet.
He addresses it there. No, that doesn't mean the Longhorns are going to rattle off a half-dozen titles in the next decade. But this is the season Texas puts its staying power on display. They've been to back-to-back college football playoff semifinals. They've had 23 players drafted over the last 2 years. So we know what Amanda thinks.
This lower is ridiculous. Has Texas dethroned Alabama and Georgia in the SEC after one season, and they have not done anything?
Shahan, is Texas...
They didn't even win the SEC.
Is Texas... Yeah, they lost to Georgia. Are they ready to take over the SEC over the next decade?
Well, this is such an unfair question to ask of, frankly, any program. It's funny, right? We've moved past the is Texas back because ultimately, yes, they're absolutely back. We got to find a new unfair question to ask them, and that's whether they're the new Nick Saban Alabama. And obviously, at this point, the answer is no. But I do also get where Ralph is coming from. I think that more what this question is have they inherited some of the infrastructure that made Alabama so good? And you look, it's assistant coaches, guys like Kyle Flood that were huge parts of that program. It's the way that they're churning out offensive and defensive linemen. It's the way that they're building in the trenches, the way that they're recruiting at the quarterback position, the organization that they've put together. At the same time, when you're calling them the next Alabama, you probably need to win at least one national championship first. You probably need to win the SEC at least one time first before you claim that you've knocked Georgia off of the SEC. Because you want to talk about programs that are the new Alabama, there's one out in Georgia that just won the SEC last year and beat Texas twice, including once on their home field. So I understand again where the article is coming from, but we are ways away from being able to make that kind of comparison.
I remember when we thought Clemson might be that program, and they did win national championships, but did not really dethrone Alabama on top of the college football world, and Georgia is there right now. Speaking of Bama, they have named a starting quarterback in Ty Simpson. He's a guy that maybe the average college football fan doesn't know a lot about because we haven't seen him a lot in an Alabama uniform, but it's a guy who's bided his time, who's appeared in 16 different games over the last 3 years, and last year in a really high pressure packed situation. Is he ready to be the guy in what Alabama hopes is a bounce back year?
Well, I think it's such a testament to Ty Simpson that he just waited his turn and kept competing. There are very few five-star quarterbacks at this point who sit and do that. You know, in the class of 2023, one after him, there's only one player who sat multiple years who was a five-star and waited his turn. That's Arch Manning. Well, Ty Simpson waited a whole additional year as a member of the class of 2022, but it reminds me so much of a situation that's comparable, and that's Mac Jones at Alabama back in 2020. He sat and waited behind Tua Tagovailoa, and when he came into the lineup, he was ready to go. He had seen everything, he had studied everything, he had learned from some of the best players in the history of college football, and when it was his time to throw the passes and the bullets were flying, he was able to adjust in a big way. And when you look at this Alabama offense, there's so much to like. One of the best offensive lines in the country, a fantastic receiver group led, of course, by Ryan Williams. This is a situation that I think is as good for a first-year quarterback to step into as any in college football. I expect big things from Ty Simpson.
Wow, Mac Jones then became a top 15 pick after that as well. Shahan Jayaraja with us here on HQ. Alabama opens the season at Doak against Florida State, and we will be there. Our college football pregame show featuring Brian McFadden, Danny Cannell, and many more will be there on the grounds of what producer Noah calls the sacred Doak Campbell Stadium. Emily Proud will be joining us as well, along with Damian Harris. And our very brand new podcast is off and running called College Football Insiders. That's where you can hear and see Shahan and many more of our other great college football writers and insiders. They went 6 wide on their opening show yesterday. Check it out wherever you find your podcasts.